Hello and welcome to the Team VVV podcast for all your weekly racing game rambles. I'm Martin and joining me as ever is Kevin.
Hi guys.
Alan.
Hello viewers.
And Ed.
Hey everyone.
So do like and subscribe. It always helps support what we do. And this week we are giving away a PlayStation 4 copy of Sebastian Loeb Rally Evo. So do check the website for details on how you can win. So kick off the podcast. This week's big new release is, of course, the Crew Calling All Units expansion. I don't know about you, but I'm not really feeling much fanfare from this one. It was announced back in E3, and I think everyone forgot about it, and now it's just suddenly come up. And I'm not really feeling much enthusiasm for it. But nevertheless, we've been playing it, and I must admit, from what I played anyway, my suspicions of it being pretty much a Need for Speed clone have been confirmed. Kevin, you've obviously been playing it as well. Would you agree with that? Are you getting a similar sort of vibes?
Yes.
Yeah.
In a word, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the street racers and you've got your police, and of course each has 4 or 5 different special abilities. So yeah, it's pretty much filling the gap from a lack of a Need for Speed title, as I think Alan might have mentioned previously. It's just sort of nicely filling in that little role there, and it's just a nice little add-on. But underwhelming, I guess. My thoughts so far.
Really, it does strike me a bit of. They obviously just noticed that there was no Need for Speed this year, so it does feel like they are cashing in on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is. It was announced a while ago, like you said, and it all went quiet. They wasn't really marketing it very much, and then it's sort of already out now. And before long, it'll probably get forgotten about, because it's just, to me, it wasn't a big enough update to really give the game a sort of shot in the arm. For me, it's just like a little stopgap thing before they announced a sequel. And I wasn't massively looking forward to this, and having played it, I guess I'm no more inspired by it.
Yeah, it does. I think as well, it does feel like it's been released a bit too late down the line. If it came out a few months after the initial release, it might have had a different reception. But because it's now been, now over 2 years now since the original release, I think you do expect something a bit more substantial.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are additional missions in the single player and characters.
I was going to touch on that. Yeah, we get more characters that we couldn't care less about.
Yeah. And when you're online and you join other racers in these chases, be it as a street racer or as a police, it's just so the event just doesn't last long enough. It's just such a fleeting moment here and there. Once it's over, you join another race, and a few minutes later it's over again, and it's like I just can't see the longevity here. It's very short bursts of gameplay. I mean, it can be good. It just depends on who you get and what the action's like. But I'm not sold on it.
I was a bit surprised they've integrated a story mode with it as well. Obviously, with the main game, we had the story, but I would love to meet someone that was actually invested in it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the update was so small in a way that they probably had to, create additional missions just to make it a little bit more interesting, actually worth possibly the price. So. Yeah,
that's it. I mean, you get a handful of new cars. I think there's a Nissan GTR and a Lamborghini Huracan and a Ferrari F12. But even that reminds me of Need for Speed.
There's no getting away from it, is there? It's.
I don't know if you noticed, but when the screenshots came out, they looked identical to Need for Speed Rivals. When
really?
we had the Ferrari F12 like really prominently in the screenshots. It looked identical to the promo shots released for Need for Speed Rivals.
I guess you can get on a bike. Right. So that's perhaps...
That's true, yeah. There are police bikes as well.
Yeah, police bikes, yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. But, and also my biggest gripe, though, I think, is the price.
Yes.
So from what I understand, it's $19.99. It does also include the Wild Run expansion, so it's not bad value from that point of view.
Yeah.
But if you already own the Wild Run expansion, it's still $19.99.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I've got that right, haven't I?
I believe so.
Yeah. It strikes me as an odd pricing strategy. There should be some sort of discount if you own existing content, a bit like in Drive Club.
I think the problem is that they want to hit 10 million users on it, and the reason why they've got to that high amount is because they've been selling it or giving it away for free on Games for Gold earlier this year, and they've been doing massive discounts on it, and a lot of people have only paid like $9 or something for it, and so the crew game is almost worthless to a lot of people. They've just bought this on top. So
yeah,
it's a two-part thing, really. It's a strategy of getting people back on the crew to reach bigger numbers and to re-inject some life into the world, but also, like you say, there's no need for speed, so why not? It's also very quiet. There's obviously no Gran Turismo Sport. We've got this big open area at this end of the year now that's sort of worked out. But like you guys have said, it's not generated that much enthusiasm. I mean, the videos that have gone up haven't really generated thousands of views and lots of people going, "Oh my god!"
No.
In a way, it's a shame because it is a lot of fun. It's a fun expansion, especially online with friends. It can be a lot of fun taking each other out, and it can get quite tactical. But I have to admit, going from the 60 frames per second PC version to seeing Kevin's video of the PS4 version, the PS4 version looks so ropey when it's running at 30 frames in comparison. But yeah, I mean, I think it's got a lot of potential, but you can still see that there's a sequel coming, can't you? A new region, new design, and perhaps bundling all that into one game if there was a Crew Part 2, for example. In a sort of much more busy environment. You can almost have a map that's too big, can't you, when it's spread out like that. And I think that's the Crew may have even fallen into that trap a little bit.
Yeah.
So I wasn't overstruck with the Wild Run expansion either, I must admit, last year. To me, the main selling point of really was the free update with the updated graphics and physics. That really did transform the game for me.
Yeah, same here. I mean, with the Wild Run, you had to be really on the ball because you had to enter events. You only had like 3 days to do so. And you had to compete in a number of events throughout the month to actually participate in the summit at the end of the month. So it really was a game that wasn't for the more sort of casual player, like maybe like you or I, where we, have evening time, want a game, and we get on the game, and if it's not the particular day, then you're out of luck. And it's very hard to actually get into the summit because you have to be on those particular days, which is I found very unusual.
Yeah, I did go for a period. I did actually participate in quite a few summits, and I did really enjoy it, especially the drifting events. But it was a bit of a mixed bag overall. I mean, I didn't add drifting specs and monster truck specs to your cars, but they didn't have any practical use outside of the summit.
No, they wasn't implemented well enough, were they, for the main game? I mean, the monster trucks. I want to drive over cars on the monster trucks. That's what it's all about. You can't do that.
Exactly.
And the drag cars, they don't turn very well, do they? So
what is the point of the drag cars?
I have to admit, I found the drag cars to be quite a drag, if I'm honest with you. I found the monster truck for me to be poorly implemented because obviously you needed a stick to rotate the vehicle in the air. Well, of course, if you're using a steering wheel, you can't do that. So you're disadvantaged. So immediately, and then I played the game racing around, and there was a problem with it at night on the early version. I couldn't see where I was going. Lights didn't seem to work. And that was it. I just didn't get around to playing it after that. I kind of felt really disappointed that one of the modes I liked the most, which was the monster trucks, didn't work with a steering wheel. And I thought that was a real, letdown, really.
That's it.
But like I say, the graphics engine was way better. It's such a transformation, but it does bode well for the future. I just, for whatever reason, though, as a brand, it's not grabbing people. It's not exciting people, is it? No one's excited by it, and I think people want something new.
I think it's turned into a bit of a cult game. It does have a following. It does have a fan base, but it's a very, like I said, it's a very culty sort of game.
Yeah, definitely.
It's got its hardcore fans that play it probably every day.
Absolutely,
thousands and thousands and thousands of miles.
Yeah. I mean, all these games do. I mean, they all have like an obsessive community, and they're quite sort of tunnel vision on their game and leading that leaderboard, so on. Yeah,
exactly. Also, Ed, I remember you saying before, I don't think you're not the biggest fan of the Crew, are you? Have you? No. Did you play it after the Wild One expansion and the graphics update?
No, I didn't really pick up the Crew at all because the first. Obviously, it was before I was involved with you guys, so I was complete consumer opinion of the Crew. I think I got the demo or something.
Okay.
I was properly amped up about it because at the beginning of the Crew, there was a lot of buzz around it.
Yep.
so I was really eager to have a go, but I don't know. I think it was the characters that really turned me off of the game, and the story. It just felt very cheesy and cliche, and yeah, it just really got my nerves. So I didn't play it.
It's annoying the way they sort of pop up and just talk incessantly at you.
Yeah, well, it's the dialogue as well. Really got to me. It's very poor dialogue.
Definitely don't get the calling all units expansion then, because it's full of dialogue again.
All right, okay.
There's this new British female character. I think you play as her actually when you're a cop.
Yeah, Clara.
Are they British, or are they an American person putting on a British accent? Because I hate that in games when they do that.
I don't know actually. I don't really listen to her that intently.
No, you're better off not doing it.
Yeah.
Pay attention
The
to
dialogue is so stilted.
Yeah,
it never ever sounds natural.
Yeah, if it was a cheese, it'd be Stilton, wouldn't it?
It does remind me a little bit, ironically, of Driver San Francisco. Yes, I always use this podcast to try and get back to Driver San Francisco because I'm in love with that game.
Absolutely, yeah.
But do you know what I mean? The dialogue and the way the characters pop up, it is very similar to Driver San Francisco, but the difference is that Driver San Francisco didn't take itself too seriously.
No, San Francisco was just weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was all the better for it.
But there was something about Driver San Francisco that felt like you were in a living environment. It was much busier, and it just had a more, whether the glow to it just felt more fun to drive around. And of course, it ran at 60 frames per second on console. I'm just saying, on an Xbox 360, it ran at 60 frames per second.
Yeah, that's true. I guess in fact, the crew does have a much bigger map to cope with on console, but I know what you mean. It wouldn't
see it all at once.
Yeah,
it would no doubt improve the experience. Actually, also on the subject of open world races, thought we'd move on to Forza Horizon 3. That's getting its own expansion next month. Obviously, we heard about this a little while back. There wasn't really any detail. But we're getting what they're calling the Blizzard Mountain Pack, which basically adds snow to Forza for the first time. To put it simply.
Interesting.
Yeah. So as with other expansions, you get lots of new cars, new race events, and also a new map. Just reading through the details at the moment. So you get hill climbs as well, which sounds quite interesting. Hill descents.
Yeah, I actually mentioned that, didn't I, in the previous podcast? I hope it has some sort of...
you did.
Yeah, so they've got that in there. That's good to see. Because, you know, there's not really a lot you could do on ice, is there? I mean, I'd like to see some slalom events, things like that as well, which they'll probably have.
I want to play hockey with cars.
Yeah.
Well, do you know what? The other thing is, when you look at the image that they've got, you'll see this car throwing up plumes of snow everywhere and everything. And I think, oh, wow, if only it was going to look like that. If only when you skidded, it would look like that. If you did say, like you say, right, it won't look anything like that. There'll be a little bit of dust puffing out the back of it. But but either way, I think you know, I think it's a nice photo mode. But it depends on how well some of the new races are. Are they going to be any different to the races that are already there? Is it going to be different challenges? Because I think it needs a bit more meat to the bone in terms of the actual content.
Yeah. More variety, you know.
More variety,
more fun. You know, give us some more fun.
Yeah.
Also, is a tricky one. I think the map does give you quite a bit of variety, but obviously the kind of the racing mode doesn't. So it's this sort of weird halfway house, really. I think.
Yeah, it's a good analogy there.
Yeah, it becomes a bit of a grind with the races on that game.
But I do quite enjoy it. It's just something really relaxing and therapeutic about just driving to the next event. I think it's a very upbeat game. It puts you in a good mood.
It's because they really nailed with Forza. I think for most of the series, they've nailed the driving feeling and it being something that you can pick up very quickly, but you can also get into very deeply as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I too have enjoyed a cruise. Sorry, Martin, carry on.
I was just going to say, I think Horizon 3 is a good example of that because it does strike a great balance of realism and just accessible fun.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, if I was young, somebody gave me a steering wheel, like if I was like 8 years old or something, I would love it because I'd feel like I'm driving a real car. Because when you're cruising, sometimes I just chill out and I just cruise across the map. It's nice. I could just go for a casual drive. There's no pressure. I can just casually drive along, enjoy it. You know, and if I was little, I'd have loved that. I felt like I was driving my dad's car or something. It'd have been brilliant. So it's so it does have that nice sort of atmosphere to it, and that nice sort of you do want to explore the map because it's so wonderfully detailed. I do find sometimes that I get lost of what I'm supposed to do next occasionally, but I think it's you know, it's like you say, it's a wonderful technical achievement. It just needs a bit more meat to the bone in terms of game. You never really feel like you're getting into it. You're going to these sort of mini races that feel a bit meaningless. I think if you were going to races with other characters and you were seeing the same characters on that journey and you're experiencing something, there'd be more growth to your character in it.
Do you think it's possibly because you're now in Horizon 3, you're now actually the festival boss rather than sort of working?
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. I mean, I had a lot of fun with Forza Horizon 1 because I felt like I was ranking up and getting somewhere, you know. Yeah. And just seeing my rank go up when I do like tricks and things like that, it just keeps it ticking along nicely. I don't have that in Forza Horizon 3, so yeah, that could well be the case.
There's other things really felt like the boss, really.
No,
that's true. There's other things as well. The fact you get handed quite fast cars really early on, which I think kind of robs the sense of progression as well in a way.
Yeah. I think that there isn't a progression to it. I think in terms of the gameplay, whatever the story is around it, I just feel that there needs to be a bit more to it in terms of I don't know, just a bit more progression to it. There needs to be more structure in terms of developing you and the races around you, and the races actually mattering. They don't feel like they matter in a way. It's like I'll cruise around in a Range Rover. I don't care. I know I'm going to win it. I'm just going to jump around here and I've won. Nothing really feels like I'm, you know, pushing to the limit or, you know, on the edge or anything. I don't know. It's just there's an intensity. Sometimes it's not there.
But in terms of progression, would we be complaining if they made us drive a Volkswagen Beetle, for example, at the very start?
I would like that actually.
Okay.
But I am a bit strange.
Kevin, did you love it in Gran Turismo 5 when you started the Top Gear events in a Volkswagen camper van?
Yes.
Okay, because that made me very angry at the time.
I thought it was awesome.
I thought it was good, actually. I have to admit, I was looking back at a couple of those old videos recently. Getting golds on some of those challenges was bloody hard.
Yeah.
It was so frustrating. Those camper vans, but also there was like another race on that track I was watching. I was like, oh my God. And it was just so hard, you know, sort of on the limit type stuff. And yet some of the races were quite easy, you know, some of them were just crazy hard. But I mean, it's an enjoyable game. Nothing to take away from that. It's just, I think it just needs a bit more. Like you say, though, perhaps something with two directions, whether you go one direction, which is a full progression, or another direction that enables you to get into fast cars straight away in some way, but enables you to take your own path. The problem is you've got these much bigger games now, and they want to make them cater for everyone. And then you end up with a game that doesn't cater for anyone. It's sort of jack of all trades but master of none in terms of the actual gameplay itself, and that's the thing that's always a decision-making process, because they want to get the mass market into it, who just come home, they want to turn on their Xbox, race a Lamborghini, feel like a badass, turn it off again, and that's sort of one of the customer types they're after.
Yeah, this is true. So yeah, I mean, in terms of the snow expansion, then we haven't actually seen any gameplay footage of it yet, or as far as I know, any screenshots either. They just kind of announced it. Yes, it's happening. Here's what it includes, but we're not going to show you yet.
And it's out in 2 weeks, so it's getting a bit late now. So yeah, it's a great Christmas present for Forza Horizon 3 fans, isn't it?
Yeah. Some of the cars sound quite interesting as well, because there's classic rally cars in it, such as the Lancia Stratos and the Lancia Delta.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome.
That's really impressive, right? Although didn't they do that with the Forza Horizons at the Rally Pack a few years back?
They did do a Rally Pack. The problem with the Rally Pack, and I sort of slated it at the time because it wasn't made for a steering wheel, and so. That's true. Oh God, it was horrible with a steering wheel, and I did my best to try and drive it, but it was undrivable, and I was so gutted about it at the time, some 4 years ago now. Yeah, I mean, whatever was going on, they probably updated it afterwards, and it probably works fine with the wheel now. But back then, it wasn't great. But the pack was awesome. I love the pack.
They've nailed the dirt driving pretty good now. It is really good on dirt, so it'd be interesting what they do on snow now.
Yeah.
No, bear in mind, this is a game where you can drive a Lamborghini Huracan on dirt, no problem.
Well, I'm going to be driving on ice.
It's not as bad as it used to be, though, is it?
Not quite. But
No.
Still kind of there, though. I mean, I think even the artwork for the new expansion had the cover car Lamborghini.
I mean, imagine doing realistic simulation of ice racing. It'd
be horrible.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't just play Carmageddon Max Damage if you want that.
Yeah.
Meow.
Sorry, I had to throw that in. One thing I do keep wondering actually about Forza is what are they going to do with the Top Gear license?
Well, I don't know, but I can see them going with the Grand Tour on Forza,
Really?
because they've got that relationship with those guys as well. But it's a decision, isn't it? Who do you go with, Top Gear or the Grand Tour? Yeah,
I would love it if they did go with Top Gear and they'd already recorded voiceovers with Chris Evans, only for him to then leave.
Yeah, well, yeah, that would be funny, wouldn't it? I mean, you can bet that the modelling of the tracks is already done now. I mean, they're way past that phase for Forza 7, so yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, well, obviously Forza 7 will probably be here next year, so I expect we'll find out then.
Yeah.
By that point, the Grand Tour will be in its second season.
Yeah, exactly.
Interestingly. But speaking of the Grand Tour, I guess we should probably talk about the latest episode. Some of us haven't seen it, admittedly, so there will be a few spoilers, unfortunately, for you. But yeah, myself and Kevin have watched it. How do I describe the last episode? It was painful to watch. I think it's the kindest thing I'll say about it. I enjoyed about 20 minutes of it, maybe. But yeah, it was a bit disappointing compared to the very grand opening episode. So yeah, basically you had a review of the Aston Martin Vulcan. What else was there? The bit in South Africa where James May goes in the car doing donuts. That was quite fun. And then you had the really, really bizarre Special Forces segment.
Yeah.
So Kevin, are you with me on this one?
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. It was like watching almost like watching a film, like a comedy film starring these three idiots, basically.
You know what? It was actually a parody of Edge of Tomorrow, the Tom Cruise film.
Oh, really? I haven't seen it, so I couldn't comment. But
so that's what they were trying to achieve, I think. Yeah.
It was so over the top. Some parts were actually funny because it was so over the top. There wasn't even trying to be remotely unscripted, if you like, or spontaneous. They knew it was all scripted. It was so obvious. It was so big. It was so brash. Some things worked, but a lot of things didn't work. And it's like they drag on too long, the jokes, and when they had to retry a lot of the segments to get the outcome right to sort of continue on. And I just felt like they dragged on too long.
That aspect of it is what was referencing Edge of Tomorrow, the film, because that's what happens in there.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, I get the feeling that might have been lost on quite a few people who haven't seen that film.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but even so, I mean, what was the point of it again?
I had to think to myself, this is dragging on far too long. What am I watching here?
It was a 2-part segment as well. If it was like a throwaway 5 or 10 minute thing, fair enough. But it was.
It was the majority of the show, wasn't it? We basically
was the main feature. Yeah.
Yeah, we had the Bugatti as well on there for a very brief amount of time. 1,500 brake horsepower, 261 miles per hour, limited top speed, I might add. And we only saw a glimpse of it. And the rest of the show was mainly this army segment, which was absolutely crazy. But I mean, it would not surprise me if these three guys actually went out and made a film on the strength of this. There would be a market for it. They could do an Amazon film. It would not surprise me. It really wouldn't.
Well, I did spy on the internet just to see some reactions, and it does look like a lot of people weren't very happy with it.
Oh, really? Yeah. So there you go.
I don't mind this sort of thing once in a while, but it really did just drag on for an eternity, and it had barely anything to do with cars. I mean, it had an Audi getaway bit in it, but it was scraping the barrel a bit, wasn't it?
It was. It felt like a filler episode, but too early on in the series. You'd expect this maybe halfway through, but it was just too early to do this. It was just too long on this one particular segment.
It felt to me like they just wanted an excuse to spend some money.
Yeah,
and that's the best thing they could think of.
they kicked off so strongly, didn't they? With the first episode, it was a car. The cars were the star. Yeah. And they've just done this episode too early. It's really sort of lessened that impact, I feel. They've sort of lost their momentum now already, after 2 episodes. So they're going to have to bounce back from this, I think.
Yeah, and I think my other main gripe as well, I didn't see any improvement with the studio segments.
No.
We had the bloody celebrity...
I know. Again, yeah, I don't want to give away too many spoilers for but
no, I wouldn't say who it was. But the problem is, like, when they announce, if you saw the last episode and then you see this one and they announce a guest coming on, you know what's going to happen. So there's no element of surprise.
Yeah, it was cringeworthy again, wasn't it? You feel like they're going to do this again. Really?
It's going to be a running joke, isn't it? Every episode.
Yeah, and you had the insults and stuff at the beginning of the show, like we've seen previously. And again, the American, the replacement for the Sting was awful, wasn't it?
Axe him immediately.
That is probably the worst. Well, actually, there's a few things that are probably just equally as bad, but that's certainly one of the worst elements for me. It's just so cringeworthy. The jokes were horrible. They're not even jokes. They're just, no, get rid of him.
I get why they've done it, because obviously they're trying to make it the polar opposite of the Sting, but it just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. It's just too flat, isn't it? There's not enough. It's just not funny enough, basically, and that was pretty much the sort of whole episode for me. It just, I don't mind them clowning about if it's more spontaneous, if it's, a bit more funny, but there was just too much of it, and it just wasn't funny enough to really sort of, keep you invested in it.
No, well, actually, one of the best bits I thought was the bit of James May, because that was actually genuine reactions.
Really? Oh, the drifting thing.
Yeah,
that was slightly interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I think making him like an unwilling passenger in the hands of a professional driver is always entertaining.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. He does like a bit of a moan, doesn't he? And you can tell he's a little bit uncomfortable. He's a little bit out of his comfort zone in that particular sort of setting, I guess. And I like to see a little bit more like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the best one I thought was ages ago in Top Gear, where he was a passenger in a rally car.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that, the race of the bobsleigh, I think it was?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
That was probably intense, and it was all, you could tell it was genuine because they were so worn out afterwards, and like the elation that he won, it was all genuine emotions. But now it's so forced and scripted.
It is a shame.
It does lose that quality, but nevertheless, hopefully we'll see some improvement next week. The trailer has actually come out. It does look a bit more promising, I have to say. It looks like they go on some sort of Italian road trip.
Okay, that's cool.
An actual grand tour.
Nice.
And there's I think it's a Dodge Challenger and an Aston Martin and that kind of thing. So hopefully it'll be
a little bit more down to earth, I would say.
Yeah, back to the standards of episode 1. I guess onto some racing game news. Inevitably, we steer back onto Assetto Corsa, mainly because the long-awaited Porsche Pack Volume 1 is finally out for console players. So we all look forward to that. Do we know how much it is, actually? I haven't checked.
No, but I will say this.
I'm going to check.
As far as I know, is it just it's only the PlayStation 4 version?
That is a good point, yeah. Microsoft always take their time with approvals.
I think weren't they having a particular issue with the Microsoft side of things? They were working on it, I think.
Yeah. I'm not sure if the problems were actually evident on the PS4 version. Maybe the PS4 version came out first. They noticed there was issues there, and they decided perhaps to delay the Xbox One version. I'm not quite sure.
Possibly. I'm just looking up how much it is.
Is it £5 something?
You get quite a few cars for that, if that is the case.
Yeah.
It was $5.99 on PC, so hopefully it's the same.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, so Kunos said they're working flat out to solve the issues, but they haven't actually stated what these issues are.
The issues?
With the Xbox One version of the
I see. Okay.
Porsche Pack Volume 1.
Right.
Well, for those of you on Xbox who are Assetto Corsa fans, then definitely pick it up. It's really, really good pack. It's great value for money if it is $5.99. Considering how many cars you're getting, and also it is just all the cars are fantastic to drive.
You're a big fan of it, aren't you?
Yeah, they are all brilliant cars to drive, and there's something there for everyone really. They've got your classic cars and the more up-to-date cars like the Cayman S and things like that.
So it's £5.79 on the PlayStation Store.
Yep, that's it.
and you get 7 cars with that, so that's not bad at all, really.
No, not bad at all.
For those of you who are used to like Porsche packs and stuff, which are half cars that were in previous games anyway, then it's gonna sound like great value.
Yeah. Is that part of the? That is part of the season pass, isn't it, as well?
Yes.
There you go then. So you get the season pass for about, I think it's $24.99, and that gives you all the car packs, including this one. So yeah, for once, we're actually not complaining about downloadable content if it's good quality, you know. But I think people will pay, hopefully. And I think hopefully it is really the comeback that Assetto Corsa needs, because obviously reception hasn't been great on the console version, to put it mildly. There are still some outstanding issues, though, as we've obviously covered many times before. And of course, for PC owners, the Volume 2 pack is already out. Ed would be playing for it, I imagine, but unfortunately his PC has given up on him.
Yeah, sad times.
Yeah, so everyone should feel sorry for Ed.
And the third pack's actually out next month, isn't it?
Yes.
December 20, I believe that is, on the PC.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we expect the second pack, or at least for the PS4 version, to arrive next month. It's anyone's guess if the Xbox One second pack will actually arrive next month due to the sort of issues it's been having with the first pack. So that's anyone's guess at the moment. Yeah, possibly.
I imagine they'll probably still aim to try and get both out at the same time. But we'll see what happens.
It's a shame, isn't it? Because it's more problems, the lack of equality between the PC and console versions. We keep banging on about it, and now we've got even more to say about it because the Xbox One Porsche Pack Volume 1 is not here, and it just seems to be problem after problem, doesn't it? It's really a shame to see.
And then you've also got the confirmation that there will be no full race replays either in the console version or a photo mode.
And there's another mode, isn't there? Showroom mode, I think it is. I don't believe that's actually coming to the consoles either. So yeah, it is a shame.
Why?
No. I guess it's a small team. It's a lot to take on.
Yeah.
Perhaps they don't have the infrastructure in place to actually really develop the console versions as much as they would like.
Yeah, I think it's quite disappointing that those features have been omitted, and I think it's very strange. I mean, the replay was in place in the early version we saw. I think this is just one of those things where you play an early game and it all seems to be coming along right, and then the final game turns out to be working not as well as the early version we saw, which is quite strange. And if you watch our early preview videos, you had replays working fine in the console versions. So whatever happened between then and launch was very interesting. And bearing in mind we've had replays in games for 20 years now, seems a bit strange that it can't remember the data to show a replay. I'd love to know the reasoning.
When you were saying last week as well that they said that the console version will have full race replays initially. I believe so. Yeah, I mean the game it did have it. It did. I mean when we played the early version, it featured full race replays. So that's why I was quite surprised when the final game came out and it only included a replay from halfway or something.
Yeah, about 3 minutes, I believe it was. It was something we see in Carmageddon Max Damage as well. Another game that just didn't have a full replay mode, and you just wonder why. Why are we having these issues in 2016? It's crazy.
That game has even less excuse considering the graphics in it.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably because it has like 800 pedestrians in every map for some unknown reason.
No doubt there's probably an Assetto Corsa mod out there with pedestrians.
There is, I believe, actually, a Assetto Corsa mod for the track in the Grand Tour.
Really? Oh, wow.
Really?
But the pictures that I saw of it, it looks very wide. Which is a common thing, it seems, for some reason, when people are making custom tracks. They always seem to be quite big. I don't know if you guys saw recently, they're talking about mods for Assetto Corsa. There was a video that came out recently where someone had modified...
yes. I know what you're going to say. Was it Grand Theft Auto Vice City?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one is awesome. And there was also the the mobility scooter one.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that one.
Someone's changed the mobility scooter to have basically the underpinnings of the Ferrari F1 car. And yeah, someone made a really nice cinematic of lots of mobility scooters having a race.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's quite funny.
Wow. It's
See if
amazing.
I can link it for you guys.
Yeah, I'd be eager to see that. Because I guess that's the other main disadvantage of the console version, is there's no modding abilities.
That's why these packs are all the more important. You know, that they release all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the modding is quite a big part of the PC version. It's got quite a big community behind it.
Well, something that you can take from that though is things like I can't remember which one it was now. I think it was the 91730 in the first pack was actually a mod that Kunos then took on as part of like a main content. So they do take that. I think also like what was it? The Lamborghini Miura was a mod to start with as well. So they bring things in. So one way or another, the console guys do eventually get them. But
I'm trying to think of the racing sim. I think it might be R Factor 2 that has a third-party affiliate system, which brings on mods and things like that, and turns it into like official releases. So that's good to see. I guess with consoles, we're seeing more and more sort of mod support rolling out very slowly, but it is a slow process. But hopefully one day, assuming consoles are still around, of course, you know, we'll really open the doors for the modders to come in and have a bit of fun. You know, it'll benefit the game, it'll benefit the community and the developers as well.
Yeah, it's all down. I mean, it's all down to what the modders are. I mean, obviously the modders have to model it for the PC version, then that has to be adapted for the consoles. It depends on how complex that process is, and whether in the future there's less complexity in moving stuff across. You know, I think then you're likely to see more sort of fantasy circuits and cars and stuff like that being added. But it's all the licensing issues. They're the main.
It does seem to be a bit of a logistical nightmare, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It does surprise me there's not more tracks. I mean, there's some really good tracks in Assetto Corsa mods you can get. And you know what? I mean, there's some amazing Formula 1 mods as well for Assetto Corsa. It's just a shame those won't come for console.
I think the biggest flaw with the tracks in Assetto Corsa is they're all European-based, apart from the fictional track, Black Cat County. So they're all European-based, which is crazy, really. I'd like to see them sort of branch out. You know, we need some American tracks. We need some Japanese tracks.
Yeah, it doesn't hide its Italian heritage, does it, that game? It's kind of very proud to be Italian.
Yeah,
the drift track is actually a Japanese track. So I guess
really?
Does that count?
Is it a real track?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay, cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
It's a race track, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, they do need more variety in there. But for me, it's not the cars, it's not the tracks, it's just it's little things like when you cross the finish line and your car teleports to the pits. You know, stuff like that. That's it breaks the immersion straight away.
Yeah.
I think there's lots of little finishing touches that they need to. I mean, like the replays, like the photo mode. So it's just like the flow of the game. There's just not enough flow to it. And it doesn't matter how many cars and tracks you have. It's about connecting those dots together. And otherwise, it just makes it feel a bit bitty. Yes, you have a wonderful driving experience, but little all else when it actually comes down to it. And it's a shame because there's so much potential. But I don't see these guys dropping this game anytime soon. They're going to work with it for another 4 or 5 years, and I think you'll hopefully see it emerge as to what it will always, had the potential to be. Hopefully,
I think that is one thing you can say about them. They are a very diligent developer when it comes to updates. They're not always timely, should we say? But even so, so many developers just release a game and then abandon it.
Yeah,
I think it's the only game developer that I've ever sent a support ticket to, and then someone actually human replied to me via email.
There you go. Exactly. Independent developers.
Yeah.
So I guess moving on, I guess really the other main sort of story this week is, of course, the announcement of the new Thrustmaster wheel. I say new. It's the Thrustmaster RS GT edition. From what I can tell, it's essentially a rebadged T300 with a Gran Turismo logo on it.
Yeah,
but it does also come with a free pedal set. Not literally free. I mean, pedal set with a clutch, which you don't get with the standard T300.
No, and also the aluminium coating on the pedals are bespoke as well.
You get a better pedal set is the sort of main advantage of it. The actual wheel rim, as far as I can see anyway, is the same as the T300.
RS,
obviously Alan's seen it in the flesh. I'm sure he can elaborate more. How would you say compared to the standard T300? Is it the same?
I mean, for me, it's pretty much the same. I mean, I haven't, you know, I've noticed a massive difference. It really is the new rim, the extra pedals and the changes there, and Bob's your uncle. You know, it's a great wheel. It's at a good price, 350. That's a really good price for what you get, and you know, I think that's what they've gone for, is bang for buck. You know, the T300 you see here is probably a second gen version of it, or third gen, wherever we're at now. And besides that, it's just a cracking wheel. You can plug it in, you can play your games on your PS3, your PS4, your PC. It's going to be fine. And you know, as ever, it's a great piece of kit. And you know, you can buy the more expensive rims for it, the leather one and the Alcantara one, and they'll work fine on it as well. So you really do get a professional feel from it. You know, the pedals obviously have a plastic base. They actually the pedals look and feel a bit better than the original. They look and feel better than the original T300 pedals. And I don't mind the plastic base in a way. You know, it's a bit warmer for your feet. You know, if you're wearing socks, when your socks are on hard steel and it's cold, you feel that. So it's nice and comfy for the feet in that sense.
Are they on par with the T3PA pedal set, the ones that you can buy separately?
Yeah, I mean, they're possibly better. Possibly better, just because they've got the different types of sort of metal finish and the sort of grips and stuff. And I don't know, there might be ever so slightly different feeling of pressure, ever so slightly, but it's difficult to say because, you know, last time I played on a T300 was some time ago. So, and but generally, I mean, I put them on, I connected the wheel to my rig, and I felt perfectly at home on all of my games straight away, transferring from the T500. So it really is a great plug-in and play wheel, with the extra options. Don't forget, you can get the gear stick, which is fantastic as well, from Thrustmaster. Yeah, great piece of kit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't really go wrong with the T300, really, in terms of quality and affordability. This top-notch force feedback wheel, except for mine, which is still broken. I should add.
Oh man!
You know, if anyone else has this problem where it just presses random buttons on the screen, it's really frustrating. I need to get that sorted. I don't know if there's an easy fix for it.
What I'd like to know is, where is the other Gran Turismo branded Thrustmaster wheel?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, basically, both these wheels were geared up to launch with Gran Turismo Sport. And the other wheel is sort of the main Gran Turismo wheel. And I guess they don't want the other wheel launching before the game. Yeah. So, you know,
that's the high end kind of wheel.
I mean, I don't know what goes on in business, but, you know, that kind of stock fills up a lot of space. It's very expensive in a warehouse. So I would assume this has all been quite a costly situation for Thrustmaster to see this Gran Turismo wheel being delayed. But, I mean, that's a great looking wheel. But, you know, when's it going to be released? Well, goodness, who knows? I mean, it depends when GT Sports release now, and there's no sign of that coming, is there, really? I mean, everything we see of it is small incremental improvements, but it still looks like
the title is actually going to be at the PS Experience on December 3 and 4. Right. So
yeah, so we'll see if there's anything new there. I mean, they really do need. I mean, what is it? 6-7 months since we first saw it. You know, they need to start showing some new stuff in it now, more tracks, more cars, and stuff like that. You know, I think they need to excite us again. I think people have got bored with it so far, and they're, you know, here's another picture from Tokyo, here's another picture from Brands Hatch. You know, no one cares. We want to see something new. So let's wait and see. You know, let's hope it comes out next year along with that wheel, because that wheel does look very impressive potentially.
Oh yes.
I wonder how much it'll be, because obviously they're going to market that as their sort of main high-end wheel, aren't
they? We could be talking, what, 600?
At least 600, I'm thinking. I mean, for the wheel and pedals, I mean, at least. It could be up to 800 for the wheel and pedals. You know, it's a serious piece of kit, I reckon. And we've got the new TS wheel that's been announced recently for the PC, and that's using a much stronger sort of drive system inside it. It's quite possible that this Gran Turismo wheel will use a similar system, so that gives you an idea on the price. But either way, this is going to be for the premium Gran Turismo fan. It's going to have everything inside it, you know. So.
No, so like I said, at the moment we don't really have a sort of a wheel dedicated to the hardcore enthusiast. The T300 is a very, very good wheel that is still the end of the day, a very mid-range kind of wheel.
It is.
It's a shame we didn't come out for Assetto Corsa, really, the high-end wheel, really. But obviously, GT Sport was supposed to come out this year. It hasn't. So we'll have to wait and see what happens next year then. Moving on now, I suppose, to indie games. We've had a few developments on some current titles. So Mantis Racing has had a new patch update, which supposedly has fixed the online glitches that we've been encountering.
Yeah, so this was the patch that came out previously for the PC and PS4.
Yes.
So the Xbox One guys had to wait a little bit longer. We
always.
haven't seen that before, have we? No.
That's
Basically, it brings in a lobby system for the online multiplayer portion of the game, which I have tested on the PS4. And honestly, there's not a lot of players at the moment on the Mantis Racing lobbies. So it is a bit of a shame. It's like I said before, it's probably a little bit too late to implement this because at launch, there was multiple issues with the online segment. Unfortunately, as brilliant as the game is, it was let down a little bit by the online. But yeah, it just seems a little bit too late, unfortunately. It is a great race, so I would recommend Mantis to anyone that's sort of, maybe a little bit older than the average gamer, or perhaps, enjoys these indie titles a little bit more than most. It is a cracking little top-down racer. Yeah. And, the sliding in it, the drifting is just so satisfying, and that's what forms the whole sort of essence of the game, if you like. It's just based off that lovely sliding movement, and just such a satisfying game to play. It's just a shame the online patch is just a little bit too late, unfortunately.
Yeah, I say it's come out sort of about 6 weeks after launch, I think, which is a shame.
Which is a long time in the gaming industry, It
is, yeah. People move on very rapidly, unfortunately.
Oh yes.
There we go. Yeah, I'm not sure what to think about Mantis Racing. I haven't really played it myself yet, apart from a few races. But it does look fun. But I just think to myself, will this be sustainable? I just think the lack of environments really does let it down, and on the whole, it just looks a bit plain, I think is the word I'm looking for. Would you agree with that, or does the handling really make up for it, would you say?
Yeah, I guess it's got a very good career mode that you sort of actually want to satisfy all the different criteria to get the maximum out of it, and very few games actually provide that for me personally, so it is a satisfying experience. So yeah,
definitely one for the single player by the sounds of it.
It is.
Considering the lack of online community.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
a theme, isn't it, with the indie races? The online community is often pretty small, so it's just one of those things, unfortunately.
And milestone games.
And milestone games. Even at launch, it can be tough to get a game, which is always surprising, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. There we go. Another one that actually caught my eye, though, is Distance. This has been in the making for quite some time now. But the latest builds apparently come out for Steam, and all going well, we should be seeing the final release pretty soon. No date yet still. But this is definitely one I've been keeping my eye on and sort of following the developments.
Very cool looking game. What was the last one? There was another one like this.
What was the name of that game? I think it was on the channel.
We've got a video of it from about 3 years ago.
Nitronic Rush.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. We've got a video on the channel somewhere of it being expertly played actually by an old VVV gamer, and I think Distance has been looking really cool for some time. It's one of those games that you keep thinking it's finished, and they keep saying they've been previewing it for 3 years now. So
this has to be one of the longest developed indie titles I've ever seen.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes with indie titles, they sort of they don't get out of Steam Early Access. They just stay there, throughout the entire life. And but hopefully, we'll see this one launch soon. It looks like it's gearing up for PC and PS4. So really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, exactly. Same here. Also, I should say there is a very good sale on at the moment in the PlayStation EU store for indie racing titles. Pretty much all the major ones have about 50 to 60% off. So games like Mantis Racing, Absolute Drift, Bears Can't Drift, games like that. So well worth looking at if you're in the market for some indie titles.
Yep.
Although by the time this podcast goes up, thinking about it, the sale will probably be over.
Possibly.
Unfortunately. So yeah, you may have missed out. So sorry about that. As for new releases this week, well, aside from obviously the crew calling all units and the Assetto Corsa Porsche pack, which we mentioned earlier, we also have the release of Rock and Racing Off-Road DX.
Yay.
A game that everyone's really looking forward to. I can just feel it.
Well, I am genuinely happy to play this game. Looking forward to playing this game, but that's because I grew up playing games like Super Off-Road, and this is pretty much Super Off-Road in a nutshell.
It really is, isn't it? Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, yeah. So all going well, we'll have some video coverage on that coming soon. We'll probably have Kevin reliving his childhood.
Yeah, exactly. This is my childhood right here. Misspent youth.
I'm sounding really ignorant here, but did the original one have a fixed camera, or am I thinking of something else?
Fixed camera, yeah. You just see the whole track in one screen, and you had like.
I'm sure there's another game with a very similar name that wasn't fixed on the Super Nintendo. Rock and Roll Racing, was it? Or
Rock and Roll Racing.
Rock and Roll Racing was sort of isometric sort of view.
That's what I'm thinking of, yeah. So
I love Rock and Roll. I love Rock and Roll. It's one of my top sort of 10 all-time sort of favourite sort of style of games like that. I mean, I remember when it first came out and it had split-screen two-player mode, and it was serious stuff. I tell you, things got quite serious when you're coming up behind your friend and then you just blew him up in front of the finish line and won. You know, just holding those bullets, and he'd know the whole way around that you've got those bullets, and he had no defense, and you're like, yeah. It was so wrong but so right. So yeah, I used to do that a lot. I was quite smelly with my weapons. But yeah, I mean, that was a great game, and it so deserves a new one. But they kind of obliterated in a way, is sort of stuff like that is sort of similar as well. But nothing replicates it as well. You know, it's a bit like Wave Race. You know, we've got these new Aqua games coming out, but they're not as good as Wave Race still. They're still lacking. They lack the atmosphere and stuff, you know. So, but yeah, I mean, this is more like the old, I forget what it's called now, one of the old games anyway.
Yeah, what's the name of the game this one's kind of based on, Kevin?
I can't remember now.
Super Off-Road.
Super Off-Road.
Okay, yeah. I could get the two mixed up, Rock and Roll Racing and Super Off-Road.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this game looks very, very similar if you look at the screenshots.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like I said last week, the problem is I've played the Wii U version, and it is buggy as hell.
Like, it's disappointing to hear that.
Literally have AI racers crashing into walls and stuff like that, and then not being able to reverse out of the way.
Oh, really? Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Well, it could be a bit of fun.
It looks like a cheap and cheerful game, I'll say that much.
Yeah, I like the different, the variety of vehicles, you know, that appeals to me.
It weirdly done, I say. I think this one actually appeals to me perhaps a bit more than the other one, Rock and Racing Grand Prix.
Grand Prix Rock and Racing, yeah.
I just hated how slow it was when you first play it.
You really had to invest a lot of patience and time into that, and you know, it was okay, but it was kind of mediocre, I guess. But
it just tested your patience, I think, and not in a good way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, like you say, a game shouldn't suddenly become fun 10 hours in.
No, exactly. Yeah. I did actually get the medal for winning the championship in the first season, so it is possible. But my goodness, you've really got to get on it and master it, basically.
Yeah. So as long as Off-Road doesn't have that problem, it could still be fun. And hopefully, I mean, they've had enough time now to patch it up and hopefully fix some of the original issues. I mean, I think the original Wii game came out quite a few years ago now.
So you expect it to move on, won't we, in that sort of time frame?
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, interesting to see.
Sorry, go on.
It'd be interesting to see where they go from here, really, if they're going to keep reviving sort of retro-style games.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, they do seem to be developers that specialise in sort of really casual games like this.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. As far as I'm aware, they don't have any other driving titles. So these are their main racing titles.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Yeah, it's available on the store now if anyone's interested. As is Aqua Moto Racing. So as Alan said just now, there are quite a few water racing games coming out. All of a sudden, we're seeing a bit of a resurgence of them. But will it be as good as the original Wave Racer? That is the question. We quite liked what was the name of the other water racing game? I've completely forgotten.
Yeah, Riptide GP Renegade.
Yeah, we really liked that game. Very fun kind of pick up and play experience.
Yeah.
This one looks a bit different. I think if anything, this one looks more like Wave Racer from what I've seen.
Yeah, it does look more like Wave Race. It's certainly a
Trying
close
to be like it.
You got you big sort of bare-chested man there doing
Yeah.
his thing, and the camera's quite strange. It's just sort of on him, and it doesn't really show any of the gameplay.
Yeah. It was like it was showing off the modelling of his pecs and six.
Yeah, it was like it's a man's game for men.
You've basically got Johnny Bravo as a game character.
Yeah, it's I watched it and thought, well, okay, when are we going to see gameplay? Let's see some gameplay. Let's see some. They didn't show any. It was just like the fleeting glimpses, but nothing that really showed the actual gameplay, which I think was a bit of a shame.
It was one of the poorest trailers I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't even run at 60 frames.
Right.
Yeah, like you say, it just focused on the man, didn't it? It seemed like, why didn't they switch up the characters? Why didn't they switch up more of the environments and the tricks and just give us a glimpse of what the game is like?
That's right. It just focused on the man.
It's all about the man.
Yeah. So there you go.
When was the last Wave Race? Was it the GameCube release?
No, it's only on Wave Race 64. That's the only. On the
There's one on the GameCube.
No, nothing on the GameCube. No,
they never water racing game anyway.
They never visited the brand. They just didn't.
Wave Race Blue Storm. It's called on GameCube.
Wave Race Blue Storm. Let's have a look then.
I've actually found something Alan doesn't know about.
Well, I've seen it.
This doesn't ever happen.
But let's have a look.
I think it is an official.
It must be really rubbish, and I just blanked it from my memory. That's all I can think.
There you go. According to the reliable source of Wikipedia, a sequel to the 1996 N64 game Wave Race 64.
Well, I've never seen this.
I found a game that Alan's never heard of, everybody.
It's a first, viewers.
Yeah.
Frantically looking.
It's quite strange because, well, maybe I did see it and don't remember it, but I don't remember it.
It was a launch title as well on the GameCube.
Oh.
Well, I never.
Well, I didn't know that. Well, I probably did know it, but just don't remember.
It could, if you did, it couldn't have been that memorable.
No, I mean, when I see it, I mean, basically, if a game doesn't grab me, I just forget about it, and that's basically it, really. I mean, you know what? You play so many of these thousands of games over the years, you can't remember all of them. I remember sort of the core things, the cornerstone moments, and anything I liked. Like when I got the GameCube, the game I liked was Rogue Leader. So that was a game I played a lot, and and I kind of focused on the games I liked. So I don't know what else I was playing now. But
next week we got the Star Wars VR patch. I thought I'd just throw that in.
Yeah, when does that come? By the way, the
December 6th, I think it is.
Is it really? God, I'm going to be on that. I'm going to be so on that. I can't wait.
When that comes out, I don't think I'm ever going to take my PlayStation VR headset off again.
Oh, it's so amazing. When I was playing, I just love being in that X-Wing fighter and just flying around. It's before you take off. There's, like you say, you look at the button. If you look at the button in your front and you can just press that button and stuff and open your wings and all that behind you, look out the window as you do it. And when I was flying the actual X-Wing, it just felt great, in the X-Wing fighter. And I just thought this, it's like playing Drive Club. It gives you an idea of the potential of the future. Yes, the technology isn't there yet, but wow, does it give you a glimpse of in 20 years' time, VR is just going to completely take over our gaming. It's amazing.
But from what you said it was probably one of the better looking VR titles you played.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, head and shoulders. I mean, yeah, I would say, it's difficult to say, but resolution wise and everything, it still looked like one of the best titles on the system. So very impressive. Can't wait.
Well, me. What were we talking about again? Oh yeah, Aqua Moto Racer.
Aqua Moto Racer. So I don't know.
Sounds a bit the closest you could probably get to Wave Racer on the PlayStation, at least. It pretty much is the only water racing title apart from Riptide. So we'll see if we can get onto that. Other than that, I guess the only sort of other new release I wanted to quickly touch on was actually Watch Dogs 2, because it does have driving in it. I remember you played it at E3, didn't you, Alan? I
did, yeah.
Yeah. The reason I want to ask is because apparently the developers of Driver San Francisco were involved with the driving aspects of it. I really want to.
You wouldn't notice to drive the cars, I tell you. The car handling was extremely what I would call two-dimensional. and it wasn't that good, sadly.
Really?
So no, we might wish that it was driver Martin, but it was the handling I played was, it was limited.
It was an early version. It'll be fine now.
Exactly, it was an early version. I will just say, and on another related note, I remember the game I played a lot when I got my GameCube. Now I played Super Monkey Ball quite a bit as well, which was a brilliant game for its time. So there's a bit of randomness for you.
Wow, can you imagine Alan playing a cutesy game like that?
It's brilliant. It's cutesy but demonic. I tell you, it was so hard and so frustrating.
I have heard that it's meant to be one of the more challenging titles from Nintendo.
Yeah.
So Watch Dogs 2 is not sounding good, then that's really disappointing because, like I said, I heard that Reflections were really heavily involved with the driving aspect of it, and it's set in San Francisco, so it should be a modern equivalent to Drive at San Francisco. Yeah,
I mean, I can only comment on the early build. I mean, you could drive okay, but it wasn't, the handling wasn't really, it wasn't a driving game. There was, I mean, even when you watch the video of me playing it, I think you could see I can just do sort of this U-turn, just spinning the car around, and it just felt quite robotic. And I didn't really feel like I had any. There was no suspension model or anything like that in there. It's very, very basic in terms of driving. So
it wasn't over anything like that.
You can make it look good in a video, but to play it wasn't great.
It's a shame too, because also the hacking abilities that you can do, it does remind me a bit of the shift mechanic from Drive at San Francisco, where you could hop into other cars and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, we're wishing, aren't we, Martin? We're wishing.
Let it go.
Let it go, man. Let it go. I tell you, exactly. I mean, we'd all love a new driver game, but I mean, I haven't played the car stuff in Final Fantasy either. I mean, that's got quite a bit of car stuff. I remember seeing it being shown at Gamescom as well, but
not a game you normally associate with driving. It has to be.
No, but you can drive around the whole map apparently, and all that. I think it's meant to be so vast that you need vehicles and stuff. So
wow,
it's. But I don't know what it handles like. It's probably pretty basic style of handling, really, so that non-drivers can play it.
So there you go. We've got another open world driving game that nobody knew about.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. There you go. The Crew has a direct rival.
Yeah, we should definitely try it out at some point.
I didn't even know it had.
Yeah.
I think Kevin's our resident Final Fantasy fan.
Yeah. It'd be a while till I pick up 15 because I've just got such a big backlog of games. It's I just don't feel like I'm ever going to get through it. It's
we've got all 14 other Final Fantasy games for a start.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, exactly. I mean, we are getting through the backlog of. There's been so many reviews this year and so much content we've had on the website, and I think it'll be nice in a few weeks' time to finally get through it all and get on top of it. I think at the moment,
it's been a surprisingly busy year for racing games.
Yes, yeah, and I think next year, and yet we know nothing of next year. It's a very, next year is a blank page at the moment for us. So, I mean, January could be very quiet for racing games, in which case this podcast will be talking about other stuff. We'll wait and see. I mean,
what will we talk about?
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, it gives you a chance to go back to the games already released and actually play them properly.
We'll see. I expect we'll see updates to current games as well. More deals. One game I think really needs DLC at the moment is, of course, Dirt Rally.
Yeah.
I reckon we'll see something big on that next year. They keep hinting, they keep saying we are doing something, we're just not allowed to talk about it yet.
Oh, well, I can see them going for Dirt Rally 2 now, frankly, rather than... I mean, because why make an add-on when you can sell a whole new game to everybody and get away with it? They can, but it needs way more stages and locations. I think that's the thing about Dirt Rally is, it needs more. It needs more to it. So, in terms of stuff to do.
I'll say apart from that, obviously GT Sport possibly next year. I never believe it until I see it with Gran Turismo.
You can't believe it. I mean, you've got Forza Motorsport 7 next year.
To happen. Forza Motorsport.
One would assume that the new GT Sport's got to come out next year. I mean, it's got to be critical, but we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, the revelations that some things don't work on on PSVR recently, I think was a real serious blow
Yep.
for the game again. And a lot of PS4 fans have bought PS4s precisely for Gran Turismo. They've bought the PSVR because they expected Gran Turismo to support it.
Yeah,
A lot of them aren't aware yet of the general public because they might not read sort of racing sites like ours or GT Planet, but they're still going to be under the impression that GT Sport's going to support their PSVR. So there's going to be quite a few disappointed people out there, and it's only going to affect the brand. So the brand is taking a battering. As I've said, every time there's an update now, people just aren't interested. They're like, we're sick of hearing about it. Let's wait and see the final game. And like you say, we're not seeing enough new stuff. So
we might see the new Codemasters game possibly announced next year. Never know.
I think we'll see it announced. Absolutely. I think we'll see something. I mean, we've got nothing announced from Codemasters for next year. I mean, so we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, normally Codemasters announce a game in November to be released the following May. Right? They have that kind of build up. So the fact that they've released nothing so far is quite unusual for Codemasters, so we might see between now and Christmas a couple of new trailers being released for new games. I wouldn't be surprised if we have at least 2 new releases announced by Christmas. But anything can happen in this game, and if development falls behind, well, then the trailers aren't going to happen. But there is this first 6 months of this year that seem to be quite open. I think the second 6 months are going to be quite chock-a-block because you're going to have
F1, WRC, things like that.
F1, WRC. You're going to have Forza Motorsport 7. It's going to be a big one because it's going to run on Scorpio. I think it's going to look absolutely mind-blowing. Even if
we'll get about 10 Milestone games next year as well.
Yeah, Milestone are yet to announce their games. They're obviously always going to have at least a couple of game releases next year as well. So there's lots of stuff to look forward to next year. But,
we don't really know what's coming in the next 6 months, but
it just seems like it's all going to be bundled together. We're going to have like 3 months where there's no racing games, and then suddenly, bosh, the market's going to be crowded, and we're going to have 2 or 3 releases a month.
Yeah, then that gives us time to actually play through this year's.
Well, that's it. I haven't really had the time to really play WRC 6 properly yet. I wanted some time to actually work through some rallies on that, so I will get into that. And I'm going to, be testing these new steering wheels as well. So I'm going to be going back and going through some of the old racing games and having some local races. But yeah, WRC, I just want to play it properly. I've only done a few stages on it, and I just haven't had the time to get stuck into it. So I think January will be the time where I have a bit of a go at that.
Fair enough. But yeah, as ever, if there's anything you want to see from your favourite racing games this year on the channel, obviously do let us know. Aside from that, I think that's probably it for this podcast, unless anyone else has anything else to add.
No, I think that's it for this week.
No. Okay, well, that's it then from us this week. As ever, if you do have any questions for us, do let us know, and we'll do our best to answer them. Other than that, that's it then. Thanks as always for listening, and we'll see you again next time.